Kia ora e hoa. Hello my friends, welcome. Welcome to my humble abode, this lovely comfy little story corner, which is actually quite comfy tonight. We've been out in the garden today and I feel like a little bit of a ziz myself. Should have hopped into my pyjamas. Hopefully you've got your pyjamas on too and you're all nice and comfy. Have you had a good day? Not quite the sunshine blue skies that we had in Auckland yesterday, but still a good day. Shall I see if anybody's around for a quick hello? Who's saying hello already? Hello, Debbie. Hello, Mark. Hello, Charles. G'day, Chardonnay. Lovely to have you join me. How about on YouTube? Have I got that one open this time? I might say something. I might say hello and see if anybody's there. And on Instagram, who have we got here? By crikey, technology is going wild in this house tonight. Thank goodness for a good... a good connection. Hello, Grace. Hello, Madden Space. Hello, Heather. Who else is here? Sophie. Yay. Hello. And Brendan. Great. Nice to know you're here too. Oh, hello, Riley. Who else is here? Hello, Jay and Kate. Lovely to have you guys. Yes. So hopefully you've all had a good day and you're all ready for the next chapters in Elastic Island Adventures Rainbow Cove. Now, I'll save the song until we've done this introduction, so I make sure everybody's here and we can all sing together. But how about I remind you about this series? It's an amazing series. Each of the books is individual. You can read it by itself or you can follow the adventures through. Book number 1, Jewel Lagoon. Book number 2, Port Magaloo. Book number 3, the one we're reading tonight, Rainbow Cove. Book number 4, Alphabet Resort. And we heard about this a couple of chapters ago, didn't we? Somebody, Elsa I think it was, had been there and she said it was really, really good. So, also, the 5th in the series, Kingdom of Blong. Now, I'm learning something new about this series every night, it seems. There is a 6th book on its way. Woohoo! So, Kingdom of Blong? Do we know a character from the book called Blong? Yeah, the cat. So, just looking at that picture there, all the cats on the cover. Bit of a giveaway, I think. Should be a goodie. And I haven't heard anything about book number 6 yet, other than there's a competition where you can get to name a character. Okay, so I told you about a website, karenm.co.nz. Well, I never told you about the other website, did I? It's because I didn't really know about it myself. It's called elasticisland.com. In fact, I opened it up before. And you can find here, elasticisland.com. Can you see it okay? Hopefully you can. It has lots of... information. You've got information about the characters. You've got fun stuff. Am I on the fun stuff page? No, I'm not. Here we go. Oh, cool. Now what have I done? Oh, I've bumped something else. Here we go. Fun stuff. Is it going to open up? It has things you can download and games. And here we go. If I hold that up. Oh, it's probably not the best way of doing it, but there you go. A little bit of information there. And there's a competition apparently where you can help name a character. Imagine that. A character that you've named in the next book. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? So go and check it out. But not now. Do it after the story, okay? Now, I'm not too sure how many chapters we're going to get through, but in the end, I have... on this little piece of paper here, no peeking. I have the winners of the 5 books. So that will happen at the end of the reading tonight, and we'll try and get through as many chapters as we can. But first, take a breath, put your feet up, get nice and comfy and sing. It's our time, kia ora, talofa. It's our time, our special time of day. It's our time, just you and me together. It's time to say hello, g'day, kei te pehea koe. How are you, my friend? Are you good? Are you ka pai? Are you tino pai? Well, I'm always tino pai when you are here. So, do we need to have a recap of the story? We know that we've got the characters here, twins, Emma and Ethan. We have their friends Jed and Kiri. We've got Blong the cat. We're about to be introduced to the chameleon family here. Did you see any of that, or was it way out of the shot? And hopefully in these next chapters we will meet the Frivols, the purple little Frivols there. Now they look really interesting. And really what the story is all about, they're causing chaos apparently. I think we've got that far, haven't we? Oh, yes, we have. Yes, we have. We've been to the library and the kids have been told off because they've been asking questions about the Frivols, and the town folk of Rainbow Cove are not happy. So, we're now up to chapter 5, meeting the chameleon family. Are you nice and comfy? Ready for a story? Shall I stop jibber-jabbering then and get on with it? Oh, okay. So demanding. Here we go. Meeting the chameleon family. Do you notice how far away I have to have the book? It means that you get to have a good look at the cover, but otherwise I have to take my glasses off to see the print. Oh, crikey. Here we go. The way to the waterfall was well signposted, and soon they had left the colourful village of Rainbow Cove behind them. They walked on the well-maintained pathway, enjoying the tropical jungle on either side of the path, with the sun smiling on them overhead. After about a half-hour walk on a gentle incline, they heard the rumble of the waterfall before they saw it. They rounded the corner, and there it was, Shimmer Waterfall, cascading down the rocks to a pool of water below. The children sat on the rocks at the base of the pool and looked in awe at the waterfall. It was spectacular, the colours so vibrant they took their breath away. There was even a mini rainbow to complete the picture. "This is so beautiful," said Emma, as Kitty gave her a water bottle from the shared backpack. The boys also began to drink from their water bottles. Blong did a quick boogie of pure joy and then lapped up some water from the pool. "It almost doesn't look real," said Kitty. "I mean, the colours of the waterfall are so bright, it almost looks like a painting." "It's a fine piece of work," said a small, slow voice beside them. "Who's that?" said Kitty, jumping up to look around. Then she noticed a green and blue reptile staring at them from amongst the green plants. "Oh, hello," Kitty said, bending down close to the creature. "I'm Kitty. Who are you?" "My name is Charlie," said the creature, taking 2 slow steps and coming to stand in a clearing in front of the children. Charlie was about 30 centimetres in length. He had large bulbous eyes and a prehistoric-looking scaly body that changed colour from green-blue to green-red as he stood and looked at the children. He looked friendly and greeted them with a big smile. "I'm the spokesperson for this area. This here is my wife Charlotte." A slightly smaller creature followed him into the clearing, her colours pink and green. She too walked very slowly before nodding at them. "Welcome to Shimmer Waterfall," Charlotte said. The tiniest creature followed next, the size of a small finger. "This is our daughter Chloe," said Charlie, "our pride and joy." Chloe gurgled and waved again at everyone while the children introduced themselves. "Oh, she's so cute," said Emma. And then she noticed Blong was frowning. "Oh, not quite as cute as my cat Blong," she added hastily, and Blong smiled happily. Blong approached the reptile family and sniffed the air. "I am Blong the cat," he announced to them. "If you don't mind me saying, I've never seen anything quite your kind before. What are you?" "We are chameleons," said Charlie proudly. "Our ancestors have lived by this waterfall since before this island was inhabited by humans or Frivols." Blong looked impressed and nodded. "It is my pleasure to meet you, Charlie the chameleon, and your family." Blong the cat began to cough, and the chameleon family looked at each other in alarm. "It's okay," said Emma, trying to reassure them. "He's a special cat, and he's creating a blongogram for you." She waited until Blong had produced the certificate, and then she read it to the chameleon family. "Blongogram. I, Blong the cat, formally say how honoured I am to meet you, family of fine chameleons. Signed, Blong the cat." "Oh, how lovely," said Charlotte the chameleon, turning a soft pink. "What a delightful message." "Never mind the blongogram," said Ethan, sounding grumpy. You obviously know this area well. We want to go over the hill and see what's on the other side. How would we do that? Oh, you just take the pathway to the right of the waterfall, said Charlotte the chameleon. But you really mustn't do that, added Charlie, giving his wife a worried look. Charlotte seemed to bristle, and her colour changed to a vibrant red. Of course they can go over the hill if they want to. You shouldn't tell people what they can't do. Charlie's colour faded to a pale green. But they shouldn't be going near the Frivols at this time. Who knows what they will do? Who knows what they've done already? Well, I want to see for myself what they've been up to, said Charlotte crossly. It's all very well everyone talking about the Frivols this, the Frivols that. I want to see for myself if any of this is true. What's true? Asked Kitty, picking up the blongogram and putting it in her backpack for Emma to keep. Why is everyone talking about the Frivols? Asked Emma, leaning closer to the chameleons. See what you've started, said Charlotte. Now we're going to have to take them over the hill. Dada, said the baby chameleon, I want to go too. Charlie sighed loudly, but then his colour became vibrant blue and green again. As the spokesperson for this area, I pride myself on being a great host, so if you'd like to go over the hill, we would be very happy to escort you. What a wonderful husband you are, said Charlotte, turning to a soft pink and making goo-goo eyes at him. And a great daddy, cried Chloe, the baby chameleon. Eager to see what was on the other side, Kiri, Ethan and Jed put on their backpacks and began to walk energetically along the pathway to the right of the waterfall. But then Kiri turned back and realised that Emma, Blong and the chameleons weren't following them. Kiri tapped the boys on the shoulder and turned to point, and they made their way back to stand beside Emma. We have a small problem, whispered Emma, gesturing at the chameleon family. They were moving very slowly, one leg at a time, covering slow centimetres. It was painful to watch. Oh, bother, said Ethan under his breath. It'll take us forever to go over the hill if they come with us. Shh, said Kitty, turning to Ethan crossly. Excuse me. Don't be so rude. They can't help it. They obviously can't go any faster. Excuse me, said Jed, taking charge of the situation and addressing the chameleon family directly. I wonder if you would mind if we carried you when we went over the hill. I mean, you can direct us, but you might be more comfortable if we gave you a lift. Excellent idea, said Charlotte, her colour becoming a combination of pink and yellow. My feet are killing me today. I'd love to be carried. You look like a nice strong boy, so if you wouldn't mind taking me and Chloe, that would be wonderful. Jed bent down and lifted them both gently in his hand. I think your shoulder would be best, said Charlotte. Jed placed Charlotte and the baby on his shoulder, and Chloe giggled with delight when she saw the view. I can see for miles from up here. Are you coming or what, Charlotte? Oh, that was Chloe. I can see for miles up here. Are you coming or what? Charlotte shouted down to Charlie. We don't have all day. I'd like to be back in time for Chloe's bath. Goodness, don't nag, wife, said Charlie, turning to Jed. If you could do the honours, I'd be most grateful. Jed reached down and picked up Charlie. Soon he had the chameleon family of 3 sitting on his shoulder, all of them looking about with interest. It's a great view from up here, said Charlie the chameleon. Gives everyone such a different perspective, doesn't it? Look, there's our home over there. Charlotte turned to look where he was pointing. You really should fix the roof. It looks terrible from this angle. No need to nag me every year, said Charlie. Excuse me. I said a few years ago I'd fix it, and I will, but I need to do this in my own time. Chloe will have grown up and left home if we wait to do everything in your time, said Charlotte, turning to a bright red. I wonder if anyone sounds like that at your house. Maybe me? Now, darling wife, that's hardly fair, said Charlie, going a shade of pale blue. I have been busy with all the meetings deciding what to do about the Frivols. It's taken a lot of time. And just what have you decided? Charlotte demanded. We are taking a vote on it soon, said Charlie. I'd expect any month we'll come to a decision. Goodness, I just can't understand why you haven't already put things to a vote, said Charlotte. If I had my way, all of this would have been resolved ages ago. At the very least, someone would be talking to the Frivels, getting them to see reason. My dear wife, all good things take time, and we must come to the right decision before we take action, said Charlie the chameleon. It takes a long time to gather the facts and then to look at every avenue and all the pros and cons. How bad do you think it will be, said Charlotte. I mean, just how much damage have the Frivels done? The children listened with interest as the two adult chameleons squabbled back and forth. But Emma noticed that they occasionally patted each other and regularly gave their baby cuddles, so it didn't seem like a real argument. It was just the way they communicated. The children continued to steadily climb the path by the waterfall. To begin, it was well maintained, but as they neared the top, the pathway became uneven, and Kitty turned to Emma with the last section to the very top. The group finally reached the crest of the hill, and they looked down at the valley below. The sight was so astounding, all of them were stunned into silence. I'd say the Frivels have done an enormous amount of damage, said Charlie eventually, turning a sickly shade of yellow. Just look at this. Chapter 6. Venturing into Frivel territory. I won't ask you if you want us to move on to Chapter 6, because you do. I know. None of the children could believe what they were seeing. At first glance, it was a normal view. Gentle rolling hills, a stream flowing in the distance, a small village in a glade surrounded by tropical trees, and on each side of their view a glimpse of beach and sea. But that's where normal ended. It was like someone had jumbled up all the colours. The grass wasn't green, but bright pink. The sea wasn't blue, it was yellow. The sky wasn't blue, it was brown, and the trees were orange. Oh, I'm getting a headache, said Charlotte the chameleon, turning a strange puce colour. Look at what the Frivels have done. How could they be so irresponsible? I'd heard the reports, but I can't believe it's so bad, said Charlie the chameleon, who was now a sickly yellow. I thought they'd just changed the odd thing to the wrong colour, but they've changed everything. No wonder everyone who lives here is leaving. I thought that the reports that people couldn't eat or sleep here were exaggerated, but I'm getting a headache too. And as chameleons, we are usually very comfortable with different colours. Dada, I'm scared, said baby Chloe. It's all right, little one, said Charlie. We'll take you home straight away. Your mother should never have insisted we come up this hill. How dare you say that, shouted Charlotte, turning bright purple. That is totally unfair, completely unacceptable. Emma interrupted what looked like to be another squabble. Excuse me, but would you mind explaining this? What have Frivels got to do with anything, and why are all the colours mixed up like this? Charlotte sighed, her colour fading to pink. The Frivels are responsible for maintaining all the colours of the island. They live in the middle of the island and tend to keep to themselves. Until now, they've done a good job at painting all the colours on Roygbiv Island, said Charlie, his colour now a strong blue-green. They might party a little bit. A lot, interrupted Charlotte. They are always singing and dancing and carrying on. True, conceded Charlie, but up until a few months ago, all the colours on the island were as they should be. But then something happened. No one knows exactly what, but the Frivels decided it was funny to paint the section of the island they live in all these weird colours, said Charlotte. Of course, all the local people and chameleons got upset and complained, said Charlie. It was giving everyone terrible headaches and stomach pains living in such a strange environment. Complaining was a silly idea, however, said Charlotte, because now the Frivels have gone on strike. I'm not sure what will happen next if they aren't painting, but it can't be good. So the Frivels paint the island usually, asked Kiri slowly, trying to make sense of what the chameleons were saying. You mean they actually paint everything with paint and brushes, even the sky and the ocean? Yes, they're very talented. It's amazing to see them leaping around doing the work. They work at great speed when they're actually painting, said Charlie. But how do they reach the sky? Asked Ethan, looking up. They create these amazing Frivol ladders and they stand on each other's shoulders. It's quite something to see, said Charlie. Usually the Frivols will paint all night and part of the day, and that is what makes the colours of our island so stunning. It's all thanks to their artistic skills. I guess they are good, mumbled Charlotte. Usually. You will have seen how lovely it is where we live at Shimmer Waterfall. So the Frivols changed all the colours to this, said Ethan, waving at the view, and everyone got upset and complained. He rummaged in his backpack, packing his lei away. Ethan put on his special glasses, which allowed him to see directly behind him, and he noted that the colours of Rainbow Cove looked incredibly beautiful. Of course, he could have just turned around, but where was the fun in that? Ethan then took the glasses off and stared ahead. It was unbelievable how awful everything looked. It was revolting. That's correct. Everyone complained, said Charlotte. I've had some of my friends in tears trying to live on this part of the island. They have constant headaches and they keep changing weird colours that make them feel sick. I thought you changed colour according to your mood, said Ethan. We do, said Charlotte, but we often change colour to match our surroundings as well. So this has been a nightmare, and the local people find it impossible to eat when all the food is the wrong colour. Imagine trying to eat fish that is a slimy green. Blong looked up from playing with his flower lei. He gasped and looked suitably horrified. That is terrible, he said. I have nightmares every night since the Frivols went mad, said Charlotte. I worry that we'll wake up and they will have changed our beautiful waterfall to unusual colours, and our lives will be changed forever. Oh, don't worry, said Charlie the chameleon. I'll look after you even if that happens. We'll be all right. Oh, you are a wonderful husband, said Charlotte, looking gooey-eyed and turning a very soft shade of pink. The two chameleons kissed. Ethan made a face and looked away quickly. I've been thinking, said Jed, ignoring the kissing chameleons on his shoulder. The chameleons stopped kissing and everyone turned to look at him. I think the best plan would be for us to go down and talk to a Frivol and find out what's going on. I think that's the best idea I've heard all day, said Charlotte. You will need our help to find the Frivols, so we'll come with you. But what about Chloe? Asked Charlie. We can't take her with us if she's scared. Oh, she'll be fine. We can't wrap her in cotton wool. She needs to find out about the world, said Charlotte. Dada, I feel better now, said Chloe, looking around with interest. I just got a surprise. See, it's all settled then. Jed, if you follow the path down the hill, we should make our way to those buildings there, said Charlotte the chameleon. Oh, all right then, mumbled Charlie the chameleon. Let's get this over and done with, if it makes you happy. The parent chameleon squabbled back and forth as the children followed the pathway down the side of the hill towards the village. It was decidedly strange having a family of chameleons on his shoulder, thought Jed, as Charlie and Charlotte continued to bicker. He couldn't believe what he was seeing when he looked at them. It was very odd. Ethan was fascinated. He had never seen anything like it. It was amazing how different ordinary things looked when they were the wrong colour. Kiri couldn't help but think how disconcerting everything was. The path was now pitch black, which made her very wary of where she put her feet. It looked like they might disappear. She glanced at Emma, knowing it would be more difficult for her. Emma was clutching the jewel pendant that she wore with one hand, and she was holding Blong under her other arm. Somewhere along the way she had lost her cardigan. Emma was thinking about the book, All You Need to Know About Colour, that she had had in Kiri's backpack. She couldn't wait to look at it again, as she hoped it would help her to understand why she was reacting this way to the strange landscape they were entering. She felt very uneasy looking at the landscape. It made her feel unbelievably tired looking around. The chameleons all had headaches and were wishing they were on their way home. only Blong was unaffected. To his eye, everything was still green and blue, with a hint here and there of yellow. It wasn't long before they were entering a small village with brightly painted huts of every colour. It looked like there'd been a massive party, as there were empty bottles, party streamers, and discarded wrappers in a huge pile in the middle of the green, which was now village pink. All of them were still shocked to see bright pink grass. They could hear snoring, They could hear snoring coming from the various huts. Frivels usually sleep part of the day, said Charlie the chameleon, hoping to explain the snoring. That's because they party all night, said Charlotte the chameleon, sounding disapproving. Jed turned when he heard a noise behind them. Look, here comes a Frivel, whispered Charlie. We need to keep our wits about us, as they're very intelligent but highly frivolous creatures. The children waited as a creature about the same size as them walked closer. The Frivel looked just like the picture in the brochure. He was purple and had long skinny arms and legs and exceptionally long fingers. He was smiling and he had big eyes. He looked very friendly. Welcome to Frivolville, sorry. Welcome to Frivolville, said the Frivel. I am delighted to invite you to join me for drinks and refreshments at the Frivel Hotel. We haven't seen anyone new in so long. This is wonderful. Please follow me. The children watched as the Frivel disappeared into a double-storied building, and then they looked at each other. Blong did a little boogie, thinking he might get fed soon. It could be a trap, said Charlie the chameleon, turning a pale green colour. What are we waiting for? Asked Charlotte the chameleon from Jed's shoulder, turning an assertive orange colour. Let's go and have something to drink. We can chat with this Frivel and get to the bottom of everything. Let's not waste any more time. Oh, speaking of time, how are we doing for time? Are you okay? Do you think you've got at least another chapter in you? Shall I have a quick check and see? Oh, Bryce is enjoying the story. That's fantastic. Nor says, hello. And Debbie says, I love the way you read, Susie. You make me feel like you just want to snuggle under my blanket and my pillow. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you snuggle down, Debbie. And what do you reckon? We have another chapter? Oh, okay then. Meeting Fernando the Frivel. And I'll try and keep the words as they are written, as opposed to the ones that I keep saying, okay? Here we go. Kiri stared at the chameleon. Here we go, can't even make the first sentence. Kiri stared at the chameleon family sitting on Jed's shoulder in all their different shades, and then realised Jed was staring at her. She couldn't help blushing when she caught his eye. Might as well find out what's going on, Jed said, clearing his throat. He led the way at a brisk pace, following the Frivel who had greeted them through the hotel doors. They came to an abrupt stop when they were inside, however, looking around with wide eyes. Shall I read that again? Did that make sense? They came to an abrupt stop. They came to an abrupt stop. I can't say the word stop. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have a sip of water. Have a sip of water. Snuggle yourself down. It is water. I do have hot water. Even without the tea and the coffee, it's much nicer. Okay. 10th time lucky. Here we go. Where were we up to? Here we go. They came to an abrupt stop when they were inside, however, looking around with wide eyes. There, that's better. It was a hotel lobby with chairs and tables dotted around a large room, like somewhere you might go for high tea. There were cake stands and teapots on some of the tables, and lovely chandeliers that hung from the ceiling. But the room was so bright. The chairs were vivid orange and the tables shocking pink. The carpet was emerald green. The walls were rainbow striped and the curtains were canary yellow. The bright colours were a shock to the system. And the next shock was the mess. There were party streamers everywhere, half-eaten cakes and sandwiches littered about in all the weirdest colours imaginable, and even discarded glass bottles strewn around the floor. Even more incredibly, there were snoring purple Frivels on most of the chairs, some of them upside down, some half over the edge of the seats, strewn around the room like life-size toys. "Come on, wake up! Wake up!" the Frivol they'd first met was shouting to some of the other Frivels, shaking and slapping those closest to him. "We have guests! It's been months since we've had guests, so we must entertain them." The Frivels began to wake up, sitting up slowly and righting themselves, wiping the sleep from their eyes and looking at the children with dopey expressions. Then suddenly it seemed all of them were fully awake. And next minute, several of them were busy clearing one of the tables, and others were bustling around carrying trays of cakes and sandwiches, with others following with trays of drinks. "Welcome, welcome," said the main Frivol, gesturing for them to sit, and before the children knew what was happening, they were all seated in orange chairs around one of the round pink tables with the Frivol in the fifth chair. Blong sat on Emma's lap. "It is wonderful to welcome you to Frivolville, the home of the Frivels," the Frivol said, smiling at them each in turn, pausing slightly when the when the family of chameleons stared back at him from Jed's shoulder, all changing colour to the same sickly shade of yellow-green. The Frivol swallowed and then smiled a little uneasily. "My name is Fernando the Frivol," he announced to them. Charlotte the chameleon cleared her throat. "Jed, would you mind putting us on the table?" "Of course," said Jed. Jed placed the chameleon family carefully on the bright pink table by the cake stand and the pots of tea. The Frivels in the room stood around watching everything with interest. Charlotte went up to the edge of the table and stared at Fernando the Frivol with such an intense expression he looked flustered for a moment, before gesturing for someone to pour him some tea. To the children's astonishment, the tea was bright blue. "As I was saying, I am Fernando the Frivol," he said again. "I am the leader of all the Frivels of the land. May I ask your names and where you come from?" Each of the children took turns introducing themselves as coming from the land of the long white cloud. Blong did a little dance when he mentioned he'd adopted Emma as his human, and then it was the turn of the chameleons to introduce themselves. "My name is Charlie the chameleon, and I live by the beautiful Shimmer waterfall," he announced. "This is my lovely wife, Charlotte." "Oh, goodness, I can introduce myself, husband," said Charlotte crossly, turning an orangey red. "I'm Charlotte, and this is our daughter, Chloe." Chloe did a little bow. "I met the Frivol leader a few years ago, and you don't look like him," Charlotte said aggressively, looking Fernando up and down. "And he wasn't called Fernando." "Wife," hissed Charlie, turning a lilac colour, "don't be rude." "Well, we need to find out what's going on here, so there is no point in mamby-pambying around. This isn't the Frivol's leader, is it?" Charlotte turned to Fernando, changing to a maroon dark colour. Fernando frowned and looked a little lost under her fierce gaze before suddenly smiling. "I know what we need," he announced to the Frivels, who had edged closer and who were watching them all like they were a stage show. "We need some music." The place interrupted with cheers and roars, and Blong watched in amazement as some of the Frivels whipped out guitars and drums and began playing with gusto. "Is that Dancing Queen?" said Kiri. "We have that song back home." No one paid any attention to her question. All of the Frivels were busy singing and dancing, doing a messy version of the conga line, some Frivels even swinging from the chandeliers. Party streamers ran down on them, and some of the Frivels began blowing up balloons with great enthusiasm. Blong couldn't help himself. He was soon up with the Frivels, boogieing back and forth to their appreciative applause. Encouraged, he did a short moonwalk, and the Frivels cheered. Moments later, a group of Frivels, including Fernando, had included some trombones and other wind instruments in the mix and were belting out a version of Yellow Submarine. In the song, the submarine kept changing colour, from yellow to red, to green, to blue, to purple. Clearly the Frivol's favourite colour was purple, as they sang that verse with particular gusto. The four children looked at the chaos and movement around them and then at each other. "This doesn't feel right," said Kiri to Jed. "I mean, I like a good party, but this is over the top." "I feel like they're trying to hide something," said Emma to Ethan. "They are avoiding things." Ethan nodded, but then began eating a large piece of carrot cake, which was bright pink, stopping only when Kiri glared at him. "What?" Ethan said. "I can't help it if I'm hungry." "Actually, I'm hungry too," said Jed, reaching over for a large chicken and avocado sandwich. But then he looked again at the sandwich and put it down hastily. The bread was green, the chicken was purple, and the avocado was red. He looked at the other food on the table and felt he couldn't stomach the cheese platter. The cheese was bright blue. Nor did he want the lettuce salad that was a weird yellow colour, or the plate of peas that were brown, not green. Eventually he settled on a cupcake that was red, but still looked edible. "I don't know where you put it all," said Kiri, looking at Jed in amusement. "Oh, great," said Ethan. "You scowl at me for eating something when I'm hungry, but it's all right for Jed? Well, that's not fair." "Oh, you're so annoying," said Kiri. "You sound like such a baby when you say that." Emma clutched her jewel pendant for a moment. "Let's not argue," she said in a mild voice. "We need to get to the bottom of whatever the Frivels have been doing." "Quite right," said Charlotte the chameleon. She drew herself up and made a loud hissing noise several times over. "Oh no," said Charlie, putting his arms over his eyes and turning a pale blue. "This is trouble." It was such an unusual piercing sound that everyone in the room stopped and stared at the chameleon. "Stop this silliness at once," Charlotte said in a surprisingly loud voice for her size. "Look at the state of this place. It's a pigsty. You need to stop dancing and start clearing up at once." The Frivels all paused and looked at each other with obvious confusion. "That's an order," Charlotte the chameleon shouted. Several Frivels popped the balloons they'd been blowing up, looking sulky. But soon, instead of instruments, all they had were brooms, mops and rubbish bags. Blong looked around and, seeing the party was over, made his way back to Emma's lap. "I was enjoying the music," he said in a small voice to Charlotte the chameleon. Charlotte changed to a soft pink. "Of course you were, dear Blong. But there is always a time and a place for things, and our time now is to get to the bottom of what is going on here, for the sake of the island. The Frivels can party again later." Blong sat up a little straighter, looking noble. "Of course, you are very wise." Charlotte turned a little red and smiled at Blong. "You are a lovely cat, I must say." Fernando the Frivol sat back down at their table and stared at the Frivels working double time cleaning the room. They worked at lightning speed, and already, in the space of just a few moments, part of the room was cleared of all the rubbish. Fernando turned to look at Charlotte. "I don't know how you did that," Fernando said. "I've been nagging them for weeks and weeks about tidying up, but all anyone has done is party and cause more mess. This is amazing." Charlotte turned a sunny yellow and smiled. "Oh, you are so sweet. What a lovely thing to say, don't you think, dear husband?" "Well, you are very good at giving orders," said Charlie, and the children waited for more squabbling to break out. But to their surprise, Charlie's comment didn't result in a fight. "Mama is very bossy," said Chloe loudly. "Bossiness is a real strength of yours, darling," said Charlie. "You are a wonderful wife and mother." "Why, thank you," said Charlotte, and the two chameleons kissed. Jed and Ethan both made faces. Ugh. "You're not really the leader here, are you?" said Kiri, turning assertively to look at Fernando. "Do you want to tell us what's going on?" said Emma gently. Fernando sighed loudly and slurped some tea. "I've been trying to be the leader since my father left, but no one listens to me. It's impossible. No one's been painting ever since the townfolk made a fuss about our creativity. The place has been a mess. Everyone's been unhappy." They all looked around at the smiling faces, and Kiri stated the obvious. "They look happy to me." Fernando turned and looked at his fellow Frivels closely. "Gosh, you're right. They do look happy." "What happened to your papa?" said Jed. Fernando sighed again. "My father is Frederick the Frivol, who has led all the Frivels for as long as anyone can remember. My father was without compare. He was kind and patient. He was fun and forgiving. When he asked you to do something, you wanted to go the extra mile." "He was very strict and bossy," piped up one of the Frivels using a broom. "Hush, Flynn, you can't say that." "Well, it's true. He used to boss us around all the time." "Oh, all right," Fernando conceded. "He was very strict about everything we did, but he led with a smile and he had time for everyone." Maybe, not sure about the smiling part, but he did have time for everyone, that is for sure. Plenty of time to keep telling us what to do, mumbled Flynn. He turned to Blong. What did you say your name was again? My name is Blong, said Blong. Bling? No, Blong. Bong? No, it's Blong, said Blong, looking a bit tearful. Pong? No, it's Blong. Now Blong was looking outraged. Don't you call me those silly names. And Blong jumped to the floor and began to cough. Ew, what is he doing? Shrieked Flynn. We can't have cats coughing up fur balls. That's revolting. It's not a fur ball, said Emma. He's a special cat. He's creating a blongogram. And when the blongogram arrived, it said, I, Blong the cat, formally want to say that you, Flynn the Frivol, are a very mean creature making fun of my name. You should be ashamed of yourself. I demand an apology. Signed Blong the cat. Flynn read the message and had the grace to look a bit upset. I'm very sorry, Blong the cat. I was just joking. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just being funny. Well, I didn't think it was funny, said Blong, pouting. Fair point, said Flynn. Will you forgive me? Blong nodded and held out his paw. Flynn shook it gently before picking up his broom and continuing with the cleaning. You were telling us about your father, Emma said gently, prompting Fernando, seeing that Blong was back to his normal happy self. Just like that, one day my father was gone without any warning. My mother, Freya the Frivol, had been bedridden ever since with her grief. All that was left was this note. Fernando pulled out a lined piece of paper from a pocket and handed it to Kiri, who was closest. I can't bear to read it again. You'll have to do it for me. Kiri looked at the note for a moment, swallowed, and began to read. Dear Fernando, this is a hard letter to write. My one and only son. I must go away and I won't be coming back. My days as leader of the Frivols are over. I am old and my time is nearing an end. It is up to you to lead the Frivols. Good luck and much love. Signed, Frederick the Frivol. P.S. Don't try and look for me. I have gone to the grey zone where I will spend the last of my days. Fernando began sobbing quietly. Emma leaned over and patted him on the back. Oh, what a sad letter. Was your father ill or something like that? Asked Jed. Fernando shook his head, unable to speak. Kiri folded the letter carefully and handed it back to Fernando without looking at anyone. She knew what it was like to lose someone, having been orphaned after her parents were killed in a car accident. She was now being raised by her grandparents. What's the grey zone? Asked Ethan. And that's the end of chapter 7. That's a rather sad place to leave it. It is getting late though. Do we have time for another chapter? If you need to go to bed now, because I'd rather leave it on a happy note than on a sad note like that, and the next chapter is only a couple of pages. Would you like another chapter? If you need to leave now because it is getting late, I completely understand. You can always watch the end of it anyway, can't you? It'll be on YouTube and of course on Facebook and Instagram. I'd like to finish on chapter 8, okay? Shall I announce the winners of the prizes now and then go on to read chapter 8? Would that be a good idea? Okay, let's do that. And then if you need to leave, you need to leave. Okay, the winners of the 5 copies of Elastic Adventures Rainbow Cove are on Facebook, Bailey Leeds, Bryce Furness, and Debbie Curtis. Now, these were all names that have been chosen by Karen McMillan, who wrote the book, and she randomly chose them out of the hat. We're actually going to give one of the books away to YouTube, one of our YouTube friends, Vicky McFall, congratulations, and on Instagram, Savannah. Savannah wins the book on Instagram. Now, is that Hundrell? Savannah Hundrell. Congratulations. What have we got there? What are you trying to show me, Steve? A whole lot of... Oh, the Rubik's Cubes, a whole lot of information there. Okay, Kylie's asking if I have solved the Rubik's Cube. I have not recently, though. It would be hard-pressed to do it again. Oh, while I think about it, somebody asked me about or mentioned the lava lamp the other night. That is the lava lamp from Susie's World. Yes, from all those years ago. Isn't it doing well? Hey, wait, congratulations to all those people. I will contact you later on tonight or early tomorrow morning and find out your postal details, and Karen will send those books out to you. If you missed out and you'd like a copy of the book, you can go and visit her website, karenm.co.nz, or you can find the other website with all the information about the series, elasticisland.com. Okay? Great. And if you're going to go now, see you later. And if you're ready for that final chapter, snuggle down. We'll read it now, because it is getting late. Finding out about the grey zone. What's the grey zone? Ethan repeated in a much louder voice after Fernando seemed to have not heard his original question. The Frivols all stopped what they were doing when Ethan shouted his question. Then they threw down their mops and brushes and began moaning. Emma looked at them in alarm. What was going on? Some of them were crying. Don't mention the grey zone, said Fernando, looking at his fellow Frivols in obvious alarm. You can see how upsetting it is for us. Flynn the Frivol had already swapped his broom for a guitar. We need a song to cheer us up, he announced. You need to finish cleaning, said Fernando in a firm voice, starting to stand up. Not a chance, said Flynn, and he began strumming the chords to Happy. Next minute, the Frivols were all singing and dancing and throwing party streamers, making a mess of the space they'd just cleaned. Blong was about to join the Frivols when he noticed Charlotte the chameleon shaking her head, looking fierce, so he decided to stay put, although he couldn't help but tap along to the beat. Fernando sat back down and put his head in his hands. See what happens? They just ignore me when I ask them to do something. First, when I asked them to paint everything the usual colours, they laughed at me and thought it was funny to paint everything weird colours. Then when I complained, well, when everyone else complained, they went on strike, and now they aren't painting anything at all. Nothing, not one stroke, not even a touch-up here and there. It's getting me down. I don't have whatever it is that my papa had, or that you have, Mrs. Chameleon, to control this mob. I have failed. Oh, well, you're not a mother, said the chameleon, sweetly, turning a light pink, and it sounds like your father has been doing this a long time. My dear wife was born bossy, said Charlie proudly, changing to an electric blue colour. You either have it or you don't. I confess I'm worried about the grey zone might be growing, said Fernando. It's been months since this lot have painted anything, after everyone made such a fuss about them getting a bit creative with the colours of our part of the island. The colours are terrible, said Charlotte. They've given me a massive headache. Everything looks awful. Fernando sighed. I actually agree. All the other Frivols think it's funny and they can't see any harm of what they've done. And I was saying before, we've never gone so long without maintaining the colours of the island before, and I don't know for sure, but I've been wondering for ages if this means that the island will slowly fade to grey. That would be terrible, said Charlotte, turning a sickly yellow colour. If all the chameleons could die if that happens. Could you do some painting yourself? Asked Emma. You know, lead by example and the others might follow. Then everything goes back to normal. Fernando brightened. I've never thought of that. Actually, when I think about it, that's what Papa used to do. I will make a start on painting soon. Painted in sensible colours, I hope, said Charlotte. Of course, said Fernando. I don't like the weird colours either. They give me a headache too. You can start by fixing the sky, said Charlie the chameleon. If you don't mind, of course, but having a brown sky changes the mood of the place. It's really depressing. Oh, if I get some help, I can start on the sky, but usually we work on the sky. We need at least 6 of us to create a Frivol ladder so we can reach it. What about using a regular ladder? Asked Ethan. It's not the way we work. It slows us down too much, said Fernando. Using a normal ladder would be much too time-consuming. Well, how about fixing the paths first then, said Kitty. Having them black means that when you walk on them, you think you're going to fall through. It's not very pleasant. Kitty glanced at Emma, who smiled back at her gratefully. She knew Emma had struggled to follow the path to the Frivols' town. You are all getting off point. We need to know what the grey zone is, said Ethan, getting impatient. Where is it? What is it? What does it mean? If you could bring yourself to tell us about it, even if it's distressing, it would be so helpful, said Emma. Maybe we can help look for your dad." "But he said I shouldn't look for him," said Fernando, looking alarmed. "You don't know him. He'd definitely be angry if I went against his wishes." "But he didn't say anything about us looking for him." "That has nothing to do with you," said Kiri. "Maybe we can find him and ask him to come back." "But the grey zone is very dangerous," said Fernando. "The grey zone is also called Greyville." "Greyville?" gulped Charlie, turning a pale grey. "That is one of our legends too. Chameleons in Greyville get so sick they can't move and eventually they die," said Charlotte in a mournful voice, turning the same pale grey as her husband. Emma turned to Fernando. "I think it would be helpful if you told us all you can about Grey Zone or Greyville, and then we can see if we can help you in the Frivols." Fernando sighed loudly. "The Grey Zone is in the far north of the island. You can walk through the valley until you reach the Mountains of Doom, and legend has it on the other side is a desolate place. It is a place of rocks and no plants. It is a place where everything is grey and utterly without any burst of colour. It's a truly terrible place." The 4 children looked at each other. "You know what that means, don't you?" asked Jed. "We need to go to the Grey Zone," said Kiri firmly. And that is where we will leave the story. Ready for chapter 9. But we are going to leave the story there tonight. And I think that is where we're going to have to leave the story. I don't know about you, but I've actually got a very big week this week. So I might not be able to join you for the next few nights. So we'll leave it there. If you want to find out more about the story, you know what to do. You need to find karenm.co.nz or elasticisland.com, or maybe find Karen McMillan, author, this is how you spell her name, Karen McMillan, author, on Instagram or Facebook, and maybe have a chat to her there. And congratulations on everybody who won those books. We will get those out to you as soon as we can, okay? And I'll be in touch very soon. And thank you, everyone, for joining me. All of you on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We'll catch up again on the weekend, but of course I'll be posting all the time anyway. But have a wonderful, wonderful week. Snuggle down now. Make yourself nice and comfy. And I'll see you later. It's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. Sweet dreams. And